Awesome. There it is.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Love Your Body podcast. On today's episode, we got my man Darryl Eubanks, who I'm going to introduce in just a second. But for everybody listening, I just want to say a shout out to my sponsors, Crane Fitness Equipment and Core and Health Fitness Solutions. So if you're watching a live stream, you can see I'm in my LIV gym today. I'm so excited about it. This actually was inspired by our guest today, so we'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, super thankful for Mark and Katie Crane, who did the flooring. Brought me a back squat. They brought me a freaking plates barbell, a blue barbell, because Dani Fitness got to be on color scheme. And then we got my Stairmaster from Core and Health Fitness Solutions. So I'm super pumped about all that. So if you get a chance, follow them on Instagram. Reach out to them if you are looking to make your movement a little bit more convenient. But yeah, so Darryl, okay, tell everybody just a little bit about what you do, who you are, and yeah.
Cool. Darryl Eubanks. I currently reside in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I'm a fitness coach. I do online training. I do personal training. I do virtual training, group classes. I own my own company called Still Life Fitness. So that's where I do all my personal training and my group classes, and then also do my online training through DNA Nutrition, based out of Florida. So with Natasha Cowie as the owner. So yeah, that's just all fitness coach things, trying to approach everything from like a holistic view. The body, the mind, spirit. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. So, also you do bodybuilding, and so we kind of connected because I saw you on Instagram from one of my friends that I followed, and I was like, I know everybody in Nashville. Like, how do I not know this man?
Yeah.
Because you were coming down to Nashville for that prep, right, with your coach, I guess, and like working out.
Yep. So Josh Chisholm, Team Chiseled, he lives in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I'm actually originally from there. Went to high school out there in like the Nashville, Hendersonville, Tennessee area. And so yeah, just whenever I go back to see the Rents and the family, like I would just try to get in the workout with him in the squad out there, wherever they were at. Just pop up on them and get a good little lift in.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do because I'm from Murfreesboro, but live in Nashville now. Yeah. And so anytime I go to the borough, I try to go like twice a month to see my coach. So that way I'm doing, like in person, as well as the online programming with all that. So I definitely feel that. But no, I feel like we're so similar. And there's so many things that we have done and even partnered together with Move Fit last year. Which was super cool. I got to come to Move Fit at your annual event.
Yeah.
And that was to tell them a little bit about what that was for.
So every year my company we do it's called Back to School Boot Camp. So outside we'll just find a park out here in the area in Chattanooga and we'll raise school supplies. Right. So for kids we partner with a place called the Samaritan Center in Ottawa, Tennessee, where they give like free and like discounted school supplies to families and teachers in need. And so what we'll do is we'll have people get to come and work out. They have to donate like 5 school supplies, new packaged school supplies, and we'll get out there. We'll have like a full body circuit. We'll have like a dance instructor. So that's when you came in and killed it, and then we'll do like some yoga at the end to close it off. So it's like an hour event. We have raffle prizes and all kinds of things. So it's just a good way to get the community together.
So so tell the listeners how you like to Move Fit.
Oh, it was cool. Yeah, you got me out there sweating. Yeah, it was fun. I like it. So like I grew up, when I was younger, I would do like Zumba and stuff, So I've always like I've always like doing stuff like that. We're just dancing and getting it in. But it was funny. Like it was real cool. Your energy was lit. Like everybody loved it. The moves were intense, but they were fun. Like there was those moments where you were dying, but just constantly moving and dancing kind of get your mind off it. So it was a good time, no doubt.
Okay, well I love that. Yeah, because we have this coming Saturday is Move Fit. We're doing here in Nashville, like West Nashville, Urban Sweat, to end my Get Your Movement challenge. So I did a 10-week challenge and everything like that. So I'm super pumped about that. And so we'll have a bunch of sponsors out there and everything. But of course, it's like freezing cold, but we're gonna make it work.
Yeah, I know.
If we have to, it's good either way. But yeah, so I'm very excited. So you do that annual event and then you host classes, and I see, all the time everybody just like vibing. I love to see the energy and everything like that. But my whole reason I wanted to have you come on is one, to catch up, but also that I really rarely ever find someone who I feel like has the same energy level or like is doing like what I'm doing, right? And because a lot of times people either personal training is like their side job, or especially with females, it's just something that they do. You know what I mean? Like, or it's not like their full business, and they don't treat it kind of as such. And so, with you, I mean, it is your business. It is your whole, life. And so what I want to ask is, you've been doing bodybuilding for how long?
It's going on 5 years, I believe. Yeah. 5
Okay.
years. 5. Yeah.
Okay. And how long have you had your business?
Just going on 5 years.
Okay. So about the same time you started.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for me, started my business 6 years ago, and then with bodybuilding just started I guess a year and a half ago or whatever, 2 years ago. Yeah. And so, my first show was in August. So I guess the prep, yes, like a year and a half. So anyway, so for me, like I'm kind of still piecing it all together of how and to find that balance and everything like that. Yeah. What has been your hardest, like what's been the most challenging with running a business? I think, you own your own house as well. Like, all that stuff, like what has been the most, like the hardest thing for you?
It's funny. I was actually just recording something today that I'm posting up on IG later, but just talking about like finding grace, giving yourself balance. I've always been an all or nothing kind of person. And so for me, it's very hard to find balance a lot of times. But I always try to go back to what my mom says. And it's funny. She just says, eat, like take on life like you would eat an elephant, right? So one bite at a time. So like a lot of times that'll get me grounded, because most of the times I'm like, I got to do this. There's like all the stuff I got to get done. And so like, I look at the big picture and forget that it takes a process and little steps. So I just try to really trust the process. Like what I say, my motto for really life is still like fitness, but just try to lean into that. There's days where like they're not so good. There's days that I'm like overwhelmed and like stressed out for sure. But then there's also days where I feel like I got all the energy in the world and I can like conquer the world. So I just got to really give myself grace in both of those. Like I have to say, okay, like let's hit what I can do, knock it out on those good days. And then on the days where I'm not feeling like up to it, I gotta, decide, okay, what can I do? What's going to make me feel like it was still a productive day? And that might not be getting a lot of stuff done. It just might be giving myself like some mental peace and like,
right.
Yeah.
Do you ever do you have a hard time like turning it off? Like, yeah. So that's something that I've been trying to be as present as I can with that of like, okay, I know I have so many things to do, but for this like 6 hours before I go to bed, I'm just going to go see a movie, or I'm going to like, do my deal, like whatever, but just do something other than posting, putting stuff up, because it's like I'm always creating, like always. So, I mean, on the stairs, like I'm literally like making reels, like doing things. So it's like, for me, it's like, I have to be super intentional and say to myself, like, you are not going to do this.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think it's hard. I mean, when you own and run a business in any capacity, you're always on the clock, and so like it feels like for us, it's like if we're not producing, if we're not doing stuff, then we're like going backwards, or somebody's outdoing us, or we're not doing enough, you know what I mean? So there's always those like mind games that are being like spun, and like how we like manipulate that story in our own head and talk to ourselves. So it's hard. Like I'm not like the best at turning it off for real. Like I work a ton, like I'm always grinding, I'm always up, I'm always doing stuff. So I just have to figure out how to right now it's me trying to figure that life out. Like this is my first year running my business full time and doing bodybuilding last year, because before that I was teaching at the school. So like I had the school teaching at school and I was running the business, but it was just like a part-time. And so like there's a lot of all my clients gave me a lot of grace, and they still do, but now this is like the only thing I do. So I mentally like I gotta be like all in with these people,
Yeah.
And then they have bodybuilding as well. So it's just different. And I think it's just figuring out at different seasons in life how to do that and what balance necessarily looks like, because I don't think balance is 50-50. Balance is just finding out how much can I give in this moment and still feel like I have my mental clarity and I have my spiritual clarity and I have my physical clarity, and then in a different season and be completely different. So it's like figuring that out, and it's tough, but you just gotta go as you can, go with the process. So
do you ever have people ask you, because I have them ask me all the time, they're just like, how do you do it? They're like, how do you like, we don't understand. It's almost like people can't comprehend it.
Right. Yeah. All the time. Like, that's like, I get that question constantly. And I think it's just, I I remember I just lean back on my why. I think like that's how I do it because I just enjoy it. Like it's not something that it, even though there are days where I'm stressed about it because it's just like that's part of being human. Like
Yes.
I really do enjoy seeing people thrive. I enjoy moving. I enjoy helping people. And so like how I do it is just because like people motivate me, moving motivates me. Like when I start digging into the stuff that like grinding out on those reels or grinding out on like helping people, it's just like I get more energy as I do it, you know?
So I feel like for me, like I'm the same way in terms of that. Like I get energy from that, but like it's almost like what I get overwhelmed with is like the future stuff.
Yeah.
Like right now, like it literally, if there was no, like if I didn't have to worry or not even worry, but like even like think about what's coming next,
Right.
like and just like did my deal, I'm like, man, this isn't even bad. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and I can vibe with it and it's so good. But it's literally like when I start getting offers about stuff for like the future or whatever. And then I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. And I was having a conversation last night with my homies and we were just talking about like, you know, there's just seasons where you gotta figure out, okay, like, can you take more? Can you take on more? And would it be productive to take on more? Like if you took on more, if you had an offer on the table, like, am I going to be able to give my all in that when I do it? And then it's also like, then it's like, okay, well, if I do it, like, do I feel like giving my all? Like, it's just, I think it's just, we just learn as we go. You know what I mean? Like, it's so hard it's so hard. Like, cause that future stuff is definitely an overwhelming part. And that's why I think like just staying present is like key. And then just like I said, like eating the elephant, like one bite at a time, you know, like one foot in front of the other. Cause if we do think about tomorrow and what it's got going on, everybody's gonna get overwhelmed. Cause like the future is like scary, you know what I mean?
For sure. Well, it's funny because it's almost like with bodybuilding, like I'm the exact same way. Like I'm like one day at a time because everyone's like, when's the show? When's this? What are you doing for this? And they're like, oh, when do you start 2 days? I'm like, you know, like I actually don't know. I would love to live where I like, because at first I was like, because this is, so you're going on, you said 5 years of bodybuilding. And you've won, multiple shows. And so like for me, with this being like year 2, I'm like, what I had a hard time with to start out was I didn't know, like, I mean, what's going to come, but like I was getting very overwhelmed with that.
No doubt.
Because I'm like, oh no, I remember at this level. So anyway, so that's where it was like frustrating because I'm like, I don't know if I can do it again.
Yeah. No, it's tough. I feel like bodybuilding, it's a testament to everything I've been saying. It really is like it's a big picture. It's like we really don't know until you know, right? Like you don't know like what your body's capable of until you push to that point. And that's the beauty in bodybuilding is like, like I think bodybuilding is one of the toughest things that anybody can ever do just because like what else do you do that you have to be this locked in on everything? You know what I mean? Like even like professional athletes in a sense of like football players and softball players and baseball players, like they have to be locked into their sport, but like just like learning that sport, like their nutrition can be good, but there's some guys that are out here like eating cheeseburgers and still going out there balling. You know what I'm saying? Like part of it, but it's like with bodybuilding, you gotta be locked on everything, and we have no clue of the end goal because it's the judges can be subjective, which is just part of it. They're human, you know what I'm saying? And then like you don't know who's showing up. There's no film. You can't study like what's their favorite pose. Like should I work on that? You know what I mean? Like you don't really know. You know what I'm saying? Like until you get to the big stages. And so it's kind of like you're just going out there and all you can do is show up the best you can every day, and I think that's the beauty in it. You know what I mean?
Yes, for sure. And that's how I try to look at even with my clients and stuff like that. Like, 'cause I program all my stuff out for like a month at a time, but like I try to take it, like I said, like one day at a time to get through that whole day and like give my best to them that day versus looking at like, oh man, this week is going to be crazy or whatever. And like really honing in on that. But it is one of those things where I have dealt with like, it's almost like, you hear people say like it's not everybody else's fault that you decided to like do this sport. You can't get out on them or anything. But it is almost like this, like kind of like a little bit of a, not towards like clients, but like for me, like other trainers and stuff, like that resentment piece a little bit of like, you have no idea like what is going on. Like, because for me, like, and I know with you have there's other coaches and trainers at your spot, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I don't know, again, if it's a difference in just me being a female or like with the male dynamic or whatever, but literally it's like, I come in and I'm so serious because I'm thinking about every possible thing I have to do, right? Or like what the next, all my stuff is like, prepped and whatever, but then like what time I'm eating and then my clients, and whatever. That like, I don't really have time for a lot of small talk. Right. And a lot of times they're like, well, Dani's like super intimidating, or whatever.
Yep.
And I'm like, I call it like focused and passionate, but you know what I mean? Like I just don't even have the energy to say, what's going on or whatever. So it makes me come off as like very rude, but it's but it's literally like,
there's been times at like the end of prep, like my clients would be like, oh, he hadn't had enough carbs today. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like, it's kind of what's already inside of me. Like, it's kind of how I already am. Like, I'm already super intense and stuff like that. But you learn your clients, right, as you go, and you see like who can you be really intense with, and who do you have to give a little bit of wiggle room, right? So like towards the end of my prep, it's like, yo, everybody just gets the most raw form of me. Like, I'm super locked in, I'm super focused. If you're doing something wrong, fix it. You know what I mean? Like that's the true me. You know what I mean? But you really can't. You got to learn how your different clients work, and you got to show up for them differently. So if you've never been through it, and if you've never experienced it, like, you don't know how it feels to like think a joke is super funny and then sit there and be like, yeah, that's really funny, but you can't laugh because you just don't have the energy. You know what I mean? Like, that's just part of it.
Right. And I think that so many people just aren't exposed to that. So they have no idea, they don't understand or whatever. Because I'm over here like, y'all eating like y'all eating like big meals. Y'all eating like y'all have 3 peanut butter sandwiches in front of me. Like you not clients, but like my other trainer stuff. I'm like, so y'all should be like feeling great. Like, what's wrong with your life? Like,
exactly. No, I feel that. It's like,
because I've had things said to me like, well, why are you stressed out? Like, why are you so like, you're so intimidated or whatever, so intense, all the stuff and whatever. And it's just like, there's a lot that goes into this, plus grinding, like what you're saying, like doing the podcast, like doing events, like going out in the community, plus doing your workouts, things like that. So it does, there is a lot that I think that people still don't understand. So when you would explain like, to bodybuilding, like, do you train your clients in bodybuilding, or is it just group fitness and like one-on-one, like healthy lifestyle?
So I only have my only clients that I do with bodybuilding are on my online clients. All my other clients that I've trained in person are just like general pop. And I have some athletes. Like I work with some football players as well, but most of my in-person clients are general population. And then I would say probably like 50% of my online clients are competition, like competitors, and then 50% are just like lifestyle clients. So I really enjoy doing both. My favorite thing to coach is athletes, just because you can push them. Like, and I like competition clients too. Only thing about competition clients, everything's so detailed. So it's actually harder for coaches as well. Like, it's fun. It's a lot of detail. And like with athletes, it can be a lot of detail, but you can just push them so hard. It's fun. You can be creative and just get them moving all kinds of different ways. So I mean, I love it. I love all aspects of it though.
Yeah, for sure. So what is so in terms of finding that balance and stuff? So you said your family. Where's your family at?
At Hendersonville.
Okay, so they're in Hendersonville. And so do you try to still come down like a couple times a month, like to be able to like?
Not really. I'm actually going down this weekend for the first time in a hot minute. I don't like, my weeks are so busy. Like, I'm still in the process of trying to get out of bodybuilder mode right now. Like, my last show was like 5 months ago, and I'm still trying to figure out how to like just do life regular, like a normal human, like, so like when I have weekends when I don't have anything to do, like I go veg mode. Like, I'm just chilling at the crib, working on stuff, like, so like now it's like trying to figure out that balance of like how to go still like have the social life or go see the fam. So I'm actually going there this weekend, just get out and see some people stuff. So yeah.
So how, like, I guess for anybody listening that maybe is in the same boat, or they're like in the bodybuilding realm right now, whatever, how, like, would you say that you turned off your social life, like while you were in prep, like for however long you were in prep for, or have you had like a successful prep where you felt like you did have like a social life and like did things?
I think my social life was just different. Like, when it came to bodybuilding, like my social life was just all my bodybuilding crew. You know what I mean? Like, that's who I was kicking with. I traveled a ton, so I was gone. But like my social like square, I guess, or like, people were like my bodybuilding people. That's who I was hollering at. That's who I was motivating. Like, we were talking, we were keeping each other like going and grinding. So like that was my social life. That was like how I plugged in, how I filled up, and how I poured into people. And so coming out of that, where I'm not like having to do that, or I'm not like around that quite as much, I'm more so focused on my business, is finding out, okay, like how do I get back into like just my everyday, like, regular, just my homies, you know what I mean? That, I just do life with. So I didn't necessarily lose it. It was just different. And so now it's shifting into this other venture. Not that I keep those two worlds separate, because I try to kind of mold them together, but most of my boys aren't bodybuilders. You know what I'm saying? Like my day ones aren't like bodybuilders. My day ones are just general pop, moms, dads, you know what I mean? Like, so so like Yeah, it's just different. It's just different in different seasons.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I feel that because like my biggest thing was it is so easy to just chill, like to just, and now that I have a house, like, because the last prep I was in an apartment. So it was one of those things where it was like I could be very isolated and like, I had an excuse of like, no one can come over because it's literally like a room. You know what I mean? Like there was no time to like, I could be like, hey, come over for a fire, like come over, hang out, like I'll make dinner, like none of that.
Yeah.
So it's forced me this time to be like, okay, well now I have the option. Cause I don't know if you're like me, but like I am so much better when there's not an option. Like if I were to go to a buffet, I would be so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, I don't know, like there's 700 choices. I would rather someone just be like, hey, I made this meal, let's go. Right.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so for me, it's like now I'm like, okay, well, I have the spot. And then like, I'm making more time with even like with the gym and stuff. Cause like I saw, you and like I have clients that I train who like have their home gyms and things like that. And so when I got an opportunity to get a sponsorship with like Crane Fitness, Core and Health, whatever, I was like, okay, well, this is just sitting out here. It's a building. Like, let's like get everything out, do it, whatever. And did it within like 8 weeks time. And so it's like coming together really nicely. But it's one of those things where it's like that even just saves me time so that maybe like at the end of the day, I can have somebody like over for dinner or like, or like, I'll eat my meal prep, but like have them to like come over, hang out, us to like do like a fire. Like I had my clients come in after like this thing that we did and we had to just enjoy that. And like, I would have never done that before.
Right.
We just sat at home.
No doubt.
Like, so what about, so in terms of like right now, so you're out of your shows for the, so do you feel like your business, like, because you like haven't been so into the bodybuilding sport, like in this moment, like, has it grown? Has it stayed the same? Has anything like, what's been different?
I think it's grown for sure. During my prep, it was definitely like, it wasn't falling off because I have another coach who's really solid, Danielle, who's kind of like taking the reins while I was gone. But my personal training was like, kind of hit or miss. I feel like because I wasn't here, so I didn't like. She just took over my classes, So
yes.
I've seen my classes. I've kind of like came to like this little still. Everything's kind of like in a still spot, but it's a really good spot. So now I'm in a place where I'm not necessarily trying to grow per se with clientele, more so just grow with like the what I can offer services like. And I guess like what am I trying to say? Just making it better with what I have, you know what I'm saying? So like making that optimal. So it's definitely growing, just not always like clientele wise. That's not necessarily my focus right now. But coming, as it starts to get a little warmer and the days start to get longer, then that's when I start pushing into like trying to get some more clients and doing those outdoor events and just kind of finding people. So it's in a good spot right now. I say bodybuilding definitely like had it like kind of not going backwards, but it was like definitely was like, especially financially wasn't as solid. Now it's like back to where it was at the beginning of the year last year when I wasn't bodybuilding. So prep,
Do you want to do you have other shows you're looking at for like next year and stuff?
So I'm not doing one 2023. So my next show will be 2024. So I'm just trying to get big, trying to put on some weight, build some good muscle, eat a lot, and just, and then cut so I can have a long prep. Like I'm looking for like a 6 to 9 month prep where I'm just like cutting down real slow, keeping on as much muscle as possible and getting shredded. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. Yeah. So what else? So I know like in terms of, like group fitness, bodybuilding, we have all that going on and everything like that. Is there anything like when you were done with your shows, like, did you go celebrate? Did you do like a trip? Did you kind of mentally release or did you just like get right back in everything?
Yeah, I kind of got right back into it, man. Like I didn't really like do much or anything. I wound up having like my family had like a little vacation, but it was like it was before my last show, so I kind of like really just like chilled. Yeah, definitely ate way too much. I put on like 20 pounds in a week. It was super unhealthy. It was not the way to go. Yeah, it was not it. But I think I needed it mentally, so I'm like, it was what it was.
Yeah,
I had my last show of the year, and then from there it was just grind mode. It's been grind mode ever since. So like, I do look for another vacation soon, just because like I definitely need one.
Yeah.
But it's just I felt like I was gone so much at the end of the last year, even though it was business trip and I'm still grinding, I'm still working. I just felt like I wanted to create some consistency with my clientele at the beginning of this year, get everybody solid, and then I'll find some time to celebrate. My 30th birthday was last year, so I was planning on going out of the country, so I didn't do that. So that's still the goal before I turn 31 is the hope. So that's kind of how I'll celebrate, you know.
I literally have talked on this like podcast multiple times. I'm going to France. I'm going to France.
Yeah.
Like, I still have not booked a ticket. And I know, but I found out that the Olympia is at the end of it's the beginning of November. Okay. And it's in Universal. And I've always wanted to go to Universal. That's because I used to be a huge roller coaster person, whatever. And so I was like, that literally would be around horror nights, which I love Halloween. So like it would literally like bucket list thing. Cause like I just went up to the Arnold and that was like a bucket list thing.
Right. Yeah.
And we made the time to do that. So that's how I'm finding balance, is like kind of making the most out of like, you know, what I can do with that time. Like, for example, I want to do another Love Your Body initiative, but I was like, I don't really know what that looks like, whatever. I was like, oh, well, I'm going to be up here. Let me just ask people around the Arnold what they love about their body, you know?
No doubt.
And so made the most of that. And I got to see my wellness girls there. And so I got to connect. And, you know, that was just like a huge like reset. And I got like that positivity back from that, you know, like refuel. So which was good. So from the standpoint of like mental, like with mental health, because that's something that I think that a lot of bodybuilders that I've known kind of put off and don't really deal with.
100%.
Do you think because you are so into like your spiritual, you know, like with everything with your gospel and everything like that, like because I mean I'm a Christian as well, so like for me, like I'm trying to lean into that really hard, but like do you think that's the one thing that you've been able to like that's like helped you the most? Like do you do therapy? Like is there anything like that you know?
Yeah, no, I think that's kept me the most grounded. Like I said, I still have my days and stuff, I think, but I can tell a difference. So like if I'm in my word and if I'm journaling and stuff like that, then I can definitely feel a difference in just like the sense of like anxiety and things are way down. You know what I mean? Like because I feel like there's a higher power or something that's like, okay, there's my why, there's my reason. It keeps everything centered. It keeps me like very present when I lock in with that. So that's definitely helpful. Like I do like discipleship with my pastor. So we try to meet every other week and just kind of talk, check in, go through different books of the Bible and things like that. And then I have done therapy in the past. I really loved it. Really enjoyed it. I haven't done it in a minute, but it was super solid. It was definitely something I would recommend to anybody at any point. You know what I mean? It's just really good just to get stuff out in the air, you know, get it off the chest. So
for sure. What do you recommend to people who like when they want to come work with you with like with bodybuilding? Like do you have that kind of talk about that with them to be like, hey, because like for like I'm starting to get into mindset coaching with people because I'm doing like a Love Your Body talk at Whitney Weiser's Fit Show Forum. So there'll be like a room full of females who like maybe haven't done a show, maybe they're going to do a show, maybe they're like wanting to do it but they don't know, like, or they've been doing it. And I'm going to talk to them about like loving your body throughout. Right. And, you know, because what I have found is so many people are, besides being hard on themselves, they're just like mentally just so negative about the whole process. You know what I mean? And they get down about it. So like what I'm trying to like spread to them is that like, no, you can love your body throughout the changes, like throughout the weight gain, because like right now we celebrate like with you, right? Like you're like putting on muscle or whatever, right? So people are like, dang, like he's getting big, like he looks so good, right? But when the female does it, a lot of times what I like, have you talked to them about that? Like, hey, there's gonna be where you're gonna put on this weight and you won't be cool with it.
Yeah. No, it's definitely something I've had to. So I had my first experience with that this last off season with some of my ladies who are actually getting ready for a show now. But yeah, just really leaning into like enjoying the process and where your body is at every stage. Like the loving your body like at every stage is huge. So it's definitely something I coach them in up on as they're getting ready to go into off season, or even as they're getting to prep, you know, and just knowing like, hey, like the stage is always going to be there. So like that's what I always try to remind them, like mindset wise, like you don't have to go compete this year, or you know what I mean, like, or you don't have to do this like this improvement season right now. Like, yes, if that's your goal, depending on what your goal is, then we might have to push through some mental barriers. And this is how we can do it. This is how we can attack it. But I always remind them, like, first of all, the stage is always going to be there. So it's not a rush, you know. So, like, you know, being mindful of that. And then on top of that, it's just like, you know, in order to get to different places, like, we have to build muscle. Just reminding them of the science. Like, you know, you're going to have to put on a little bit of fat. You're going to have to get comfortable with that. You know what I mean? Like, and you still look great. You know what's under there. You know what your body's capable of. This is just a part of the process, right? Like, we can't get to that next level unless we do this. And so it's just, you know, showing and mapping out that, you know, giving them a big picture of like what that map looks like. Because I mean, even as a guy, like it's hard to start to lose the abs. It's hard to start to like for me, like I hold the weight like around my belt, like you know what I mean. So like to get the love handles or whatever, it's like that's hard, you know what I mean. But because everybody, I mean, I like to be shredded. I'm pretty much every bodybuilder likes to be shredded. I think everybody would love to be shredded, you know what I mean. So it's just hard to lose it, but it's when you realize the process, and also like it's healthy, you know, like not
Yes.
only is it like not only like you have to do it, but it's healthy. Like it's not healthy to be that lean year round.
Right. Well, I think that so many people, and I talk about this a lot, but like in society, they're trying to sell you on you can have this body, and then people then are like, okay, it's like they take a picture and like that is the body for the rest of their life.
Yeah,
that is what they want.
right.
And it's like, okay, but also if you are in this sport, like you have to know that there's going to be times where like you have to go up, you have to go down, you have to be like flexible with that. But also just in regular life, you are going to have to be flexible with
Right.
that. That's not a real thing. I think it's so hard because people see people that look good, quote unquote, all the time.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, they did it. And a lot of times people don't understand like that's genetics. That is just like, you know, and even to them, they may be up in weight, but you don't know because all you see is just the aesthetics.
Right. Yeah. And the angle that they took the picture and the way they put the filter, like, you know what I mean? Like, so like social media can be a huge thing with that. Cause I mean, I see guys all the time like, man, like, dude looks shredded year round. But it's like, then I got to remind myself, like, I can make myself look shredded at any, like, if I just turn the right angle and put the lighting in the right way, like, you know, it's just part of it. You know, it still gets to me mentally too. But you just got to realize, first of all, you're not them. You don't have their genetics. You don't know their story. You know, like when you compare it to other people, like, everybody's story is different. And then on top of that, like you said, like it's part of the process. You're going to go up and down. You're going to fluctuate. There's holidays, there's birthdays. You still want to enjoy life. It doesn't have to be like, that doesn't mean get fat and be married, but that means like allow yourself to like have some fun, allow yourself to give yourself some grace, like I was saying earlier, and just, you know, enjoy that different part. If you're a bodybuilder and you got goals, then that's what you need to do. Right. But for everyday people, like, you know, you don't have to be bodybuilder shredded all year round or even ever, you know, to be healthy and be in a good headspace and a good body, you know, body.
Right. What is something that like with being an entrepreneur, what has been like something that you wish you would have known before you started your business that like maybe you just had to learn as you went through?
Shoot.
Looking back,
I don't know. I think I was aware of everything. I think I was aware of not everything, but I was aware of a lot. You know, you hear about like, you know, as an entrepreneur, there's never no time off. Like you're always working. You know, you need people. Like I think I was aware of a lot of those things. But I guess just realizing like the extremity of all of it. You know what I mean? It's like, no, you're really always on. Like, and you really do need like you're not a silo. Like you gotta lean on people to help you with different things. You know, like and so I think just like I think if I could go back and do something different with my business, it would be more so like I don't mind it. Like it's working out just how it should, but like I would have set up more of a blueprint from the beginning of what I wanted it to look like. But I don't think I would have known that I went through it. You know what I mean? Like it's 2020, it's hindsight 2020 now, but like there's really not much I would change at this point. You know, it's just now that I know if I were to coach somebody up on it, I could say, hey, like let's do this. You know what I mean? But I don't think that I could go back. There's not anything that I would do differently because I don't think I would have knew any better. You know what I mean? So I think everything I did, like I love the process of how my business has grown. Like it's just been such a God ordained thing. Like it's honestly just crazy how it's all happened. So yeah.
For sure. So I do have to ask this. So in terms of, because I've been following like, you know, my posing coach, her and her guy, like he coaches her and like they're married and whatever. Okay. Do you feel like when you're in a relationship versus when you're out of a relationship, do you feel like the preps are just different, or do you feel like it's just based upon like who you're with? Like, have you dated like someone like that's in bodybuilding world?
The first show I ever did, my computer is tripping. The first show I ever did, I was actually dating somebody, and it was cool. You know, it was good to have that support. It was good to have the help. And it was fun. And then this last season, I wasn't dating anybody, and it was really cool. But it was different because like you're going on the road, you're like experiencing things by yourself. But it was also cool because you leaned on other people, and I met a lot of different people and a lot of friends. So they both had their ebbs and flows. But I did date, or like talk to a bodybuilder this past year as I was going through my show a little bit, and that was really fun. Just because like we understood how each other clicked, right? We understood like they're dying. They need you. They need me to push a little bit with them. Like they need me to help them and be there with them and like remind them of their why and stuff like that. So I think I've experienced it. I've never experienced it fully, but I think they all have their ups and downs. And I've just always had good experiences with it. Like anybody who I've ever been with or talked to in that season has always been super supportive. Like they've never it's never been a bad experience. I think it could be the other way around. But it's always been a good experience. Like kind of when I've been on prep, like that person's kind of like took on the prep in a sense in their own life, in their own way. So it's been cool just having the support of like helping them say, hey, like this is how you should pose, or like let me sit in the background when you're on the call with your posing coach so I can know how to cue you up or talk to you in the crowd. So it's always been a dope experience.
Okay, yeah, because I always have wondered about that, just because like for me the hardest part during a prep is like explaining to people, like explaining
For sure.
to them to understand, because it's almost like I'm like, just get it, like just get it, like, and it's almost like you're continually having to like explain, and I hate that, like I just want to keep it like simple and like someone to like get it, but then also there's the whole thing of like I know I'm not my best towards the end, so like like, you know what I mean?
You need people. You need people. So I've never it's hard. Like that does suck because there's like nobody's gonna get it until they do it. You know what I mean? But then like somebody who's like experienced it sees you with it. Like they see those days when you're like super starving, you're like dying at night. You know what I mean? Like crying because you're so hungry. You're like, you know what I mean? Like
we're making this sound really good for everyone listening.
Right. I mean,
for bodybuilding right now.
Right. It's crazy, but it's fun. You know what I mean? You just like you realize like what your body's truly capable of, So but until I think that, there's people when they see that and you have somebody that like sees you going through that, they can understand it. They can understand how they need to show up for you. They may not know exactly what you're feeling, but they can like sympathize to the point of like, okay, they need me to show up for them in this way. Like if that's just like warming the food up, you know what I mean? Or like whatever, every little bit matters at that point. Or just like sitting with you while you do your cardio or whatever, anything, like anything. So I mean, it is so many different ways to support in that way. So that's kind of like what me and some of my friends and buddies that have been through the show preps together in the same preps, like we've been able to like lean in on one another, just encourage and stuff like that. Like you and I did that for each other last year too. You know what I mean? Like just like saying like, yo, like I'm dying, like, but we got this, you know what I'm saying? Like, so
yeah. I definitely will be messaging you.
No doubt. You know it.
My shows are in August and I'm actually doing the state show in Chad.
Yeah, okay.
You better come through. You better.
I'm there for sure.
Okay, I'm excited. So is there anything that you want to ask me? Like I know I asked you a bunch of questions, but as we wrap up, like anything that you've seen or that you've taken away from like the Dani fitness movement or anything like that?
Not necessarily ask, but just kind of like I guess like a brag on you. But I do really love what you're doing. I remember when we first started, I was like, like, hey, what is this love your body thing? Like, is this like what's this body positivity thing? Like, are you saying like be okay with being out of shape? Like I remember I asked you that, you know what I mean? You're like, no, like it's not. And so like I love what you're doing because it's not saying like, hey, be okay with like being unhealthy, but it's saying be okay with where you are and like always in a sense, like it feels like be okay with where you're at, but like always strive to be your best version of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like and I like the body, I just like the approach you take. I like what you're doing. I like, how you're allowing people to see, like, even on my check-in sheets when I do my clients, I'm always like, what's a positive? Because you can find a lot of negatives in our lives all the time. So trying to lean into those positive things to like propel you to move more and do more and show up for yourself better is really cool. So like just bragging, like nothing, not really a question, but just I really do enjoy what you're doing. I'm glad there's somebody doing that. And I just hope like that you just have the most success and it just like spreads worldwide. So yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that so much. And of course, always like collabing with you and just having you like in my circle, it means the world. Cause for me, like I've told people before, it's like, I would rather have somebody there like personally than like, you know what I mean? Like, I guess it's great if it's business too, but like it really does help just with everything. So I appreciate you even taking the time to come out today. I know you're so busy. And I know you got to get back to clients and stuff. Yeah. Are you training at your gym or are you training at your house?
Yeah, I got one coming in about 10 minutes at the crib, and then I'll be over at the gym later on this evening. So,
okay. Well, I love that. Well, thank you so much, Darryl, and I will talk to you soon, okay?
Problem. Appreciate you. All right. See you.